Welcome to this YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how we use the scan function in Google Sheets. As you have heard it is scan. It's a very powerful function that we can use to do all sorts of things. And the reason why it's powerful is it allows you to loop through a range of values. And then also it gives you a lambda, which is a user-defined function. And that one also makes it more powerful because when it's a user-defined function, you can define whatever you want inside the scan function through using the lambda function. So I have 6 examples to show you the power of the scan function. Let's get started. In our first example, we are going to get a running total of these figures here. We have figures 1, 2, 3, up 8, and our objective is to get a running total. So we type scan, and then it has an initial value, the array that we want to scan, which is this array here, then lambda. This is what makes it powerful because here we are supposed to define, if you can see the docs here, in the lambda we can define what we want to do. So I'm going to go with accumulator current, comma, current value, and then the whatever we want to do in this function here. So what do we want to do? What we want to do is to accumulate some of these 5 figures here and give a running total. So in our first case, we need to use this accumulator. The accumulator will be 0. Then we add on the current value, like so. So what happens is when we start with 0 as a total, then total, that's 0 plus 1, we shall get 1. Then the one we get here, we shall add the 2 and get 3. Then the 3 we get there, we shall add 3 and get 6. So this is what it does. So CV means the current value, which is one of these. It scans through and goes on adding to the previous total got from the previous. So if I close the lambda and then also close, I close the lambda, close the scan function, hit enter, you can see now that we have got a running total. And the way it works, it is 1, first one takes 0 plus 1, we get 1, 1 plus 2, we get 3, 3 plus 3, we get 6. So we get our running total. So this is example 1. Now you can say, what if these figures are in horizontal format? How will it work? It doesn't matter whether horizontal or vertical, it will still work fine. So let's see if at all it is in horizontal format, how it's going to work. To be the same, I have the figures here, same figures. So I go here and say scan. I take the first initial value, I say 0. Then my array now it is in horizontal format, which is this one here, comma. Then I put lambda, open my brackets. I say accumulation, current value, comma. Then what I want to do is get the accumulated value, the total from adding the previous numbers plus the current value, close brackets, close the scan, and there you go. So 1 plus 2, you get 3, 3 plus 3, you get 6. So we get the same result. Example number 4. Now, in this example, you may come across a situation where you have 2 columns, and I want to increase all the values, the price and quantity, by say 5%. This is my example. I've assumed I want to increase everything by 5%. Or you could choose to do something else, or you add, or you subtract, or whatever. But in my case, I want to increase all these values, the quantity and the prices. Each of those values should be increased by 5%. What you can do, the scan function can come through. Handy here, you say scan 0. The next argument is an array. Now, because I have 2 columns, I'm going to open a curly brace, select the first column, put a comma, select the second column, close the curly brace like so, comma. So this is my array. It is made up of 2 columns. So to indicate Google Sheets or an array of 2 columns, this is how you do it. Open the curly braces, select the first column, put a comma, then select the second column, close the curly braces. Then we go to lambda, like so. Then again, what do we want to do? Here, it doesn't matter. Then I have to, in the lambda, I have to say accumulator, then current value. Then what I want to do is current value times 1.05. So when I do that, it is going to increase everything by 1.25. So I don't think even this, let's close brackets and see. Then there you go. I want to see if I left out this guy to give me an A. So I need to have the accumulator there, even if I'm not gonna use it, for it to work. So this is what happens. 200 has been increased by 5%, 300 by 5% becomes 315. The 3 has been increased to by 5%, become 8.15. So in one single step, I can multiply all these figures and increase them by 5% in just using one formula. That is the power of the scan function. That is my example number 3. So let's proceed on. Go to example number 4. So in example number 4, I want to replace the USD. You can get values in this format. USD the amount, and it's a very long list. And you want to replace it using a single formula. Of course, there are different ways you can do this, but I want to demonstrate using the scan function. So I say that, I select my range. This can be a very large range. Lambda, I put my accumulator, then current value. Now I specify what I want to do. So you'll observe that I'm not going to use the accumulator, but I need to put it there for this function to work. In my previous example, when I removed it, it didn't work. What do I want to do? I want to replace. So I need to think of the function I'm going to use. Substitute maybe. In which range? My range is C3. What am I going to search for? I want to search for USD. When I find it, what do? I replace it with an empty space, like so. So when I replace it with an empty space, this USD is going to go away, and you remain with only the 540. So I close the substitute function, I close the lambda, I close the scan, press enter, and you can see what we get. So this is not what I want actually. What I should have done, let's go back to 3. I want to substitute. I want to scan the current value. So I'm going to say current value. With that, let's do that. Yes. So what I have to do is scan the current value. When I get the current value, look for USD. When you find USD, replace it with an empty space. So this is how you do it. Get the current value, search for USD in each of them, and when you find it, replace it with an empty space. This is what you do to replace the USD with an empty space. That is example 4. Let's move on to example 5. Now, example 5 and 6 are interesting because now you have data for a whole year, and these are last month days of the year, of the month, of January 2021, Feb, running up to December. Then we start January 2022, running to December, then 2023 January, running to December. That's the kind of data that we have. And the next column has cells. So our objective here is to get the running total per year. In other words, I want to add figures for 1 year, that is 2021, cumulatively get a running total, the total for the current month, add the previous month, then like so, a running total for up to 1 year. Now, when it reaches 1 year, it needs to go back to now calculating the one for the next year. In other words, the next year, I'll start with 7512. Then I accumulate that per month. After accumulating that, I'll get the full total for the year 2022. Then I start from 0 again. I accumulate once again for 2023. So that's what I mean by a running total per year. So scan function comes in handy. I'm going to start with 0. Then I'm going to select the range. This time I'm going to select the month, and I'll show you why. Like so, comma, lambda, then accumulator, then current value, comma, then what I want to do. So let's think about what we want to do. You'll observe that the moment it comes to January, then I need to start from 0. Accumulator has to go to 0 and start adding. How do we accomplish this? How do we know that now we have gone to January? First of all, we need to know how we have gone to January. We can use the month function, and we get the month of the current value. Remember, I'm looping through, I've given it this range, so I'm looping through 1 by 1. So if I say month current value, this one is going to give me the month. This month function gives you month, and it will return 1, 2, 3. If it is January, it returns 1. If it is Feb, it returns 2, like so. So if the month function is applied on the current value and I get a 1, what does it mean? It means that I need to start accumulating from 0, starting with that month. And now I'm using the column of the month. So the first thing is I need to move to the column of the cells. How do I move to the column of the cells? So I move to the column of the cells by saying offset, then say 0, say current value, where you are on that current value, then move. You are not moving a row. The first variable is, the second variable is how many times you move in a row. I'm not moving, so I put a 0, but I'm moving one column, so I put 1. Okay, then close that. So when I do that, it's going to start adding from there. So when the month value is 1, I just take the value of that month. In all other cases, and why I take only the value for that month is because I want to start from that amount. So if the month is January, what I'll take as the value will be the value for that month. I hope that is clear. Then in the next month and all the other months, I need to accumulate. So I'll say accumulate plus, again, the offset of current value. Then I move 0 rows, I move 1 column, close the offset, close the if function, close the AMDA, close the scan, press enter. So when you do that, you're going to observe that it is when it turns a 1. If the month is 1 using the month function, then it takes only this value. This is what this one means. I just offset and get the value for that month. For all other months, get the previous total, which is stored under the accum, plus the current value. It gives me the current value. This one gives me the previous. I hope that's clear. So you see for January, it goes adding 84 plus 81 gets this. Then we run down. When we reach December, it is going to have the total for the full year. Now, observe, when we reach January again, we go back to, takes the current value. Then it starts accumulating starting from this current value, accumulates, reaches December, gets the overall total. January, go back, take the value for January, accumulate again. So that is how you are able to achieve cumulative totals per year. Now, you may also say, supposing I want quarter. Now, for a quarterly basis, if our quarter is running from January to March, if I use the month function, you'll observe that when it reaches January, it needs to start calculating. When it reaches February, when it reaches April, that's accumulating from April. Then when it reaches July, it starts accumulating. And when it reaches October, it starts accumulating. So if I use the month function on this date to return a 1, on month function on April to return a 4, month function on July, it returns a 7, then 10. So I need to see at these points where it changes. I'm going to do the same like I did here, but I'll modify it for this purpose of the quarter. What will happen? Now let's use the scan function to see how we can accumulate the sales values on a quarterly basis. So we say we're going to type scan. We start from 0. Our range is this one here. I'm using the dates, comma, lambda, then accumulate current value. Now, because I'm accumulating on a quarterly basis, I need to start accumulating when the value of the month is 1. If I use the month function, I should, and I apply it on this cell B2, I'll get a 1. So when it is January, and I'm assuming my quarter runs from January to March, then when it reaches April, it should also start accumulating afresh. When it is 4, then 7, then when it is October, 10. So I'm going to use the if function, and inside it, because I'm testing 4 items, 1, 4, and 7, and 10, I need to use the all function in brackets and say if the month of the current value current value, if I do that and I find it is 1, or the month of the current value, if I get it and I find that it is 4, that is April now, comma, month of the current value. If I check and I find that go to July, comma, month of the current value. If I check and I find that is October, in all those cases, I close my all. In all those cases, what do I need to return? I need to do an offset of the current value. I don't change the row. I move 1 column. Because I specified the range of column B, now I need to find a way how I move from B to column C, because my interest is calculating the cells, not the month. So I have to move to this column C. And to move to column C, I have to use the offset of the current value. I'm not changing the rows, so I remain on this row, but I'm changing the column in the positive 1 position. I move 1. So when I'm here, I'll move here. This is what this one. So to return this value, this one here will return this value here if this is our current row. So in other words, I'll not accumulate. I'll just return the current value. So in all other cases, that if it has checked and it is false, in all other cases, I'll accumulate. So I'll say get the total from the previous additions and add on the current value, which is got by this, comma 0, comma 1, offset, and that will be it. So I'm going to close my if function, close my lambda, close my scan, press enter. Okay, let's see. Now, January, it starts here, takes this value, then adds on the one for Feb, we get this, then we add on March, we get that. And when we come to April, we start again afresh here. This April comes here, then 81 plus 20, we get 102, 102 plus 60, we get 163. Then July starts afresh, and so on. So this is how you can get the cumulative totals per quarter in from this data set here. This is how powerful the scan function is. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe, like the video, give me your comments, and don't forget to have a great day.